All right, let's talk about something we've all felt. You're reading, you're in the flow, and then bam! You hit a word that looks like a total brick wall. Well, today, we're going to give you the secret code to smash right through it. Let's dive in.
Okay, so look at this sentence. It's pretty straightforward, right? The friends wanted to establish a club. But then you see that one word, establish. And for so many of us, a word like that just stops you in your tracks. It can totally derail your reading flow. One second you know what's going on, the next, you're just stuck.
And hey, if that's ever happened to you, you are so not alone. It's a completely normal thing. But here's the cool part. What if I told you that those big, intimidating words, they're actually just a bunch of little, easy words wearing a trench coat? Seriously, there's a system to it, a pattern. And today, we are going to crack that code together. So, the very first piece of the puzzle is understanding syllables. You see, every single long word in English is just built from these smaller sounds. The big trick is to stop trying to swallow the whole word at once. Instead, you just need to learn how to see its simple, bite-sized pieces. And the most common building block, the one you'll see everywhere, is what we call a CVC syllable. That's just a fancy way of saying a consonant, then a vowel, then another consonant. Think about super easy words you already know, like cat, or pub, or sin. They all follow this exact pattern. And here's the secret. Most of those giant, scary words are really just a few of these simple CVC parts strung together. Okay, so let's go back to our big bad word, establish. How do we actually do this? It's a simple three-step process. First, find and underline the vowels. In this case, that's E, A, and I. Easy. Step 2, find the consonants that are sitting right between those vowels. See them? We've got ST and BL. And finally, step 3, the rule is to just slice the word right between those consonants. So establish becomes S-tab-lish. See? All of a sudden, it's just 3 easy little chunks. So much easier, right?
And this isn't some magic trick that only works for one word. No way. This is a rule that works all over the place. Check out these other words. Wisconsin looks kinda long, but it's just wis-con-sin. 3 simple CVC chunks. Or what about consensus? That could definitely trip you up. But now you know it's just con, sen, sis. Once you start seeing this pattern, you'll see it everywhere. It's like a little secret you've been let in on.
This is so important, so I'm going to say it again. If you can learn to read by syllables, you can learn to read almost anything. Seriously. It's the most foundational skill. It's all about training your brain to see the small, manageable building blocks instead of one giant, scary wall.
Okay, so now that we've got the building blocks down, let's add our next tool. Think of these as the cheat codes for reading. We're talking about prefixes and suffixes. These are super predictable chunks that you can train yourself to spot in a split second.
So what are they exactly? Well, it's pretty simple. A prefix comes at the beginning of a word. Think pre, which means before, and the suffix gets tacked on to the end of a word. The key thing is that they both have their own meaning, and they change the main word's meaning in a way you can almost always predict.
And here is the absolute #1 pro tip for dealing with these. Before you even try to sound out a long word, your first move should be to scan for a prefix or a suffix. Just look for them. If you spot one, just mentally chop it off. What you're left with is a much shorter, much less scary word to figure out.
All right, enough with the theory. Theory is great, but let's see how this stuff works out in the wild. We're going to take a look at a little ad for a company, Fishing Unlimited, and use it as our practice round. So, this ad asks a couple of questions, and it's got some great, chunky words for us to work with. Successful, discontented, and unhappy. Right now, those might look like a bit of a challenge. But with the code we're learning, we're about to make them look like child's play.
So when you chop off those prefixes and suffixes, your goal is to get to something called the root word. The root word is exactly what it sounds like. It's the core, the heart of the word. And you know what? A lot of the time, it's a simple word you already know.
Okay, let's break these down. Look at unsuccessful. Chop off the un at the beginning and the full at the end, and what's left? Success. Easy. How about discontented? Take off dis and ed, and you're left with content. Unhappy is even easier. Just take off un, and you get happy. And you can see how this works with a simple root like help. Add full, and you get helpful.
Add less and you get helpless. It's kind of like unwrapping a present to find something you already recognize inside.
And here's another cool thing you'll start to notice. A lot of prefixes hang out in little families with similar meanings. For example, un, dis, and miss all pretty much mean not or bad. Unhappy means not happy. To dislike something is to not like it. A misprint is a bad print. So if you learn one of them, you're basically learning how to decode a whole bunch of other words without any extra work.
And it's the exact same story with suffixes. They add predictable meanings to the end of words. The suffix full almost always means full of. So skillful just means full of skill. The opposite, less, means without. Helpless is without help. And then you have the really common ones like s, ed, and ing that just change the grammar. Once you get these down, you can predict what they're doing every single time.
Okay, let's bring it all home. We've learned how to break words down into syllables, and we've learned how to spot and remove prefixes and suffixes. When you combine those two skills, you've basically just unlocked a brand new reading superpower. So let's put this all together into a simple 4-step strategy. The very next time you see a word that makes you pause, don't panic. Just do this. Step 1. Get the context. Read the whole sentence it's in. Step 2. Look for the chunks. Spot any prefixes or suffixes first. Step 3. Divide what's left. Use that CVC syllable rule on the root word. And finally, Step 4. Reread and check. Put it all back together and read the full sentence to make sure it sounds right. That's it. That's the entire code. You know, the biggest takeaway from all of this is really just a change in how you see these words. They aren't monsters. They aren't these impossible mountains. They're just puzzles. And the cool thing is, you now have the instruction manual. They're just made of small, simple, recognizable parts that you can totally handle.
So, I want to leave you with a question to think about. Now that you know the code, just how many new words have you unlocked? How many words that used to seem impossible are now totally within your reach? You'll find the English language just got a whole lot less intimidating. Now go on, put that new superpower to the test.